Dr. Davis, welcome to the show. First time.
Thank you, Robert.
Sure you'll be back numerous times.
Pleasure to be here. Do you mind if we give our audience a little bit of our credentials?
No, not at all.
Okay. I am with North Carolina State University. I'm a professor there in the Department of Horticultural Science and one of the fortunate few that gets to live up here in the mountains. And we have a research and extension center out by the Asheville Airport and a large research station. And that's where I've been working on medicinal plants and how to cultivate them as a commercial crop for just about 20 years now.
Yeah.
So, and those are my credentials.
So I am a long-term nurse who began a private practice about 10 years ago in respiratory education after learning about a pretty phenomenal breathing technique called the Buteyko breathing method that was developed in Russia 50 years ago, and have since then developed breathing programs, therapeutic remedial breathing workshops and classes to work with pretty much any condition. Most conditions all begin in the respiratory system or go back to the respiratory system. So cardiac, respiratory. This method's been used internationally for asthma with the International Global Asthma Crisis. And it's been just having incredible success. So I'm in Asheville. Breath Dance Wellness Through Breathing is my business, and that's what I do. I teach and offer wellness education. I'm a wellness educator coming from with my roots in the wise woman tradition of medicine and natural healing.
Well, let's talk a little bit about two plants that we've picked out today.
Mm-hmm.
And why don't you start off? And we'll zip over to the other camera and take a look at the first plant.
Our first plant. And the two plants that we chose to talk to you about today, the first one is mullein. And it's a plant that I'm sure once we get a close-up here, you will find you're quite familiar with. Mullein is not native to the United States, but it has now been naturalized throughout the eastern United States. And you find this growing along roadsides in particular. Lots of times when you go where they have cut out the banks of the roads, this is where mullein really likes to live. And so it likes gravelly, sandy, kind of poor areas to live in. And you'll find it in full sun. It's a very tall plant when it's flowering, and it's a biennial plant, which means that it grows for 2 years. And its first year, it's just leaves. It's a big rosette of leaves, and those leaves are very, very thick and fuzzy, and they've got a lot of mucilage in them. And then the second year, it puts up this tall, beautiful flower stalk. The flowers are yellow, and it's kind of along that spike. Now, most people think of this as a weed growing along the roadside, but it is a very beautiful ornamental plant, and not many people here in the U.S. use it in the gardens. But I found this lovely picture on Wikipedia of it being used as a centerpiece plant in a garden. So I thought that was kind of unique. The plants are composed of, they're used medicinally, and they've got gums and resins, a little tannin and some volatile oils. The flowers and the leaves are both used medicinally. The leaves are usually harvested and dried, and the people I know that collect mullein just cut off the whole plant.
First, second, doesn't matter.
They usually do it the second year.
The second year.
Usually the
Even
second
though that
year.
first year leaf mucilage.
Yes. I have not been able to find any research done on the leaves to know which, are there really any differences. All the research I have seen has been on the flowers.
Now, on the
their oils.
flowers, in harvesting them, they don't all pop at once. It is a labor of love of coming out
Yes, it
every
is.
morning and gathering your mullein flowers, and we're usually putting them in some kind of an oil.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so we can go with virgin olive oil.
That's not my expertise. That's more yours. I'm the grower here.
Okay. Well, I think that and olive oil is where I think Joe Hollis mentioned that he would just put that those leaves and collect them.
The leaves or the flowers?
There's the flowers.
The flowers for the oil.
Yeah, for the oil.
In olive oil.
And then put them into the olive oil.
And I do know they've done some research looking at when to harvest the flowers, and it should be done in the morning.
Right, that's
before
what he would
they're fully
say.
Open.
Yeah, that's what he would say. He just said you go out, one of the things you do is you water the plants, and then you go take off the mullein flowers. It's a very unique opportunity in the morning to just check out what else is around, listen to the birds, watch the rest of the plants, and but it does every single morning will come up with new flowers.
Now it's a plant. What I work on is taking native plants that we have or naturalized plants and putting them into commercial cultivation. I'm always interested in finding new high value opportunities for our farmers so people can stay farming and continue to make a profit. Mullein is one that I've not really looked at because the prices for mullein are really quite low. So most of it is still wild harvested. A number of the small local herbalists companies in this area still use wild harvested mullein. And even the prices they're paid are they're so low that we can't justify producing an acre of mullein. Many of them, the people that are wild harvesting, are drying the leaves and selling them because that way they can come up with a volume of leaves to sell. The flowers, as you said, are a bit of a challenge because you do have to go out there every day and you only get a small number. So I only know a few people harvesting flowers. They're either for their own use or there are a few companies paying for them for homeopathic remedies. So if you can make that kind of relationship with someone, the prices aren't too bad. If you want to do this yourself, the leaves of mullein are very thick and fuzzy, so you have to put some extra care into drying those leaves. So if you can have moving air, whether you have a forced air dryer yourself or can even add a fan to whatever your drying situation is, make sure those leaves don't touch and turn them. Because they are thick, they're going to take a lot longer to dry than many of the other kind of leaves that we dry.
And you don't want them to be brown, you want them to be green.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like I said, with the market, there's always a steady market for this, and it's small, so the trick is if you can work your way into one of those situations where you've got a buyer that wants this.
Well, for me, to also let the people who roll tobacco, although I'm not a tobacco advocate, I think that rolling tobacco and mullein together is a better world than just smoking tobacco. And kids can do that themselves.
It's been used for a long time in Native American smoking mixtures. Mullein is a very common smoking mixture, and it has been shown to be soothing to the lung tissue when it's smoked, the leaves.
And it's just like so strange because you wouldn't think that smoking something is going to help your lungs. It's almost anti-logical, but as you say, it's the evidence, the continued use evidence is definitely there.
Well, one of the things we know is that it works as a sedative, and it actually works to suppress the sympathetic nervous system, which tends to constrict. So when you smoke it, bring it into the lungs, the effect is relaxation of the muscles of the bronchial tree, actually. So it would seem anti-logical, although they've found that,
Okay, so here we are. Let's flip to the next. Unless you would you like to?
I'd love to say some things about mullein. So it's interesting. In some of the research I did this morning, I read in one place that it's native to many of the temperate regions in the world, and Eastern North America. And it's been shown in Appalachian lore that the root has been used. It was used to treat croup traditionally in Appalachia. It's part of the foxglove family. The leaf, flowers, and root are used. And in a respiratory formula, it's one of the main ingredients in almost all of the respiratory formulas. It's a general tonic for the lungs.
Was this brought over from Europe? Did early settlers bring that plant with them?
I'm not sure. The one reference, it said it was native to many of the temperate zones.
Yes, I think Europe and...
Yeah, very possibly. It's been around for a long time. What we see often, too, is that mullein is one of the plants that will grow in land that's been devastated. If you go to a fire or a year or so after there's been a forest fire or burning, there'll be huge, healthy mullein plants. So mullein, it soothes some of the properties. It works as a demulcent because of this mucilaginous property. It actually will form a protective layer on irritated mucous membranes, help with coughs. It reduces inflammation and irritation of the respiratory system. It actually stimulates fluid production. So it helps to expectorate. It's known as an expectorant, to cough up mucus, the phlegm, right. It's been used as an antiviral. It's been used as a diuretic. It's used, again, a lot of respiratory combinations: asthma, chronic bronchitis, coughs, laryngitis. It also is shown to be used with TB and emphysema. And it's very safe. It's one of the safest herbs. Children can use this. One of the best ways to take it medicinally is as an infusion. So to make a tea that sits for 4 to 8 hours and a really strong, make it overnight, and then drink a quart of it. Put some in a quart jar, maybe about a half a cup, boiling water over it, and let that really sit. So infuse it.
Does it taste good?
It tastes very good. It's very mild. It's almost tasteless. It's one of those very mild tasting herbs. Yeah, it is very good. It's been used topically. The leaves can be put over a chronic, a chest that's experiencing chronic coughing or shortness of breath as a poultice. You quickly put it in boiling water just to soften it, and it starts breaking down some of the cellular, the pores in it. Put it as a poultice. Oil, as you all talked about, it's been used for ear infections, earaches, and the flowers are definitely used in that. And smoking, Native American smoking mixtures.
What does it do for the earaches? I've always known it's been used as an ear oil, but how is that
working?
Right,
well, it is an anti-inflammatory. And one of the things with earaches is the inflammation gets so severe that it'll cut off the eardrum. The pressure just starts building up, and the pain becomes excruciating. So by decreasing inflammation in the ear canal,
makes sense.
It helps to, keep that passageway open.
And we want to also mention garlic as another
combo
that I've seen.
Often ear oils have mullein and garlic, right, and an olive oil, right, and an olive oil
extra
base.
Virgin, hopefully.
Yes, extra virgin.
Sounds good.
Yes.